I walked through the park at night, contemplating the beautiful moon, obscured by clouds. The summer air was getting cool, which made me want to go home sooner, but I didn't think much about it. My mind was filled with thoughts, and my heart was aching from parting with the girl, and all because of the money. She wanted a luxurious life where she wouldn't have to work and hang out all day, go to beauty salons. I don't know how I ever put up with her antics and whining about not having enough money. I told her many times to get a job if she wanted to be able to live her life. Unfortunately or fortunately, it was only now, breathing in the fresh air, that I realized there was no love on her part. She just used my trust and her beauty to beg for money, hard-earned, and I fell for it, as an ordinary country boy and only a few years living in the city, working in an office. Not a factory, but the constant delays at work, tired eyes and back problems, were not so different from hard work. Since I really loved her, it was hard for me to accept the breakup, but there was a silver lining. Now the money I earned, I would definitely have enough and not have to overwork like I did when I was in a relationship. I have now told myself that I won't fall in love again so suddenly, and I certainly won't put up with what I've been putting up with. I don't want the kind of girl who seeks riches without giving a damn about love. Let her look for a daddy with a huge wallet or go to work. Once outside the park, I was relieved as the pain of separation was drowned out by the anger that overwhelmed me, until near a tree, there was a sound. The light from the streetlights didn't allow me to see the place, so I turned on the flashlight on my cheap smartphone and walked closer. As I leaned over, I saw light coming from beneath the leaves. It seemed like someone had hidden it here on purpose, and most likely the smartphone was stolen, so I had no desire to pick it up, but I couldn't leave it behind either. In case the owner called, then I could return the find to him. After 10 seconds of deliberation, I picked it up, after which it stopped beeping and the screen went out. When I pressed the unlock button, I was surprised that the cheap smartphone did not have any protection. Not an unlock key, not a PIN code, but just the home screen. I was even more surprised when I looked at the call list to call back and return the find to the owner, but it was empty. Next I checked the gallery, but I found nothing there either. It felt like it had just been purchased, but it already had a SIM card in it, which popped up in the top right corner of the screen. I poked around a bit, put it in my pocket, and went home to try to figure it out. When I was home, I started looking for some information, but I found nothing but a strange application called Servants of Darkness. The icon of the application was very similar to the pentagram, but this did not confuse me, and I pressed it with my finger. The very same pentagram slowly appeared on the screen, and then a woman's voice sounded. "Greetings. I hasten to inform you, you are now the rightful owner of this application. We will fulfill any wish of yours, and payment will be a part of your soul. You have 4 wishes, after which your soul will no longer belong to you. Use it wisely, but I want to warn you, if you do not make any wish within 4 days, you will die. The previous owner has already paid for the misuse of the app, with death. You have a choice to make, to die or to give up your soul." The voice was silent, and on the screen appeared an inscription wish, and at the bottom there was an empty line, in which, apparently, I had to write my wishes. I must admit that I did not believe it, since now there are many different applications, which are frightening with their contents, but my interest did not subside. Realizing that this could only be in the movies, I wrote my first wish. I want a leadership position in my job. Well, who won't want to climb the career ladder in a short time to get a decent salary? As soon as I wrote, I pressed send, after which the pentagram reappeared. Soon a notification appeared, saying that my wish was allegedly granted. As soon as I read it, I laughed to myself and at those who invented this trick. The next morning I went to work as if nothing had happened, only occasionally remembering the funny application. I still did my work until lunchtime, but then the inexplicable began. My boss summoned me and said that he was transferring me to a new position, which only I would be able to cope with. When I asked what happened to the former employee, I got an unexpected answer. He killed himself last night by jumping out the window. They found a note at the scene, but I don't know what it said. Probably had girlfriend problems or something worse. Anyway, I'm appointing you to a new position, don't you agree? From the words I heard, I felt uncomfortable, but when asked a question, I still answered yes. The rest of the working day I thought about the appendix and about the death of the previous employee, but decided that it was a coincidence, or rather, convinced myself of it. In addition, I decided that I would not write anything else in this app, but rather try to find the owner of this smartphone. The whole evening I killed trying to find the owner and even involved an acquaintance who knew a lot better in such things, but we still did not find anything. The acquaintance thought about it and then said in all seriousness, "There is no such smartphone. Where did you even get it?" In response to my friend's question, he replied that he had found it. After that, I posted it in the group to try my luck there. I took a picture of the back of the device and wrote about the find, and to avoid it falling into the wrong hands, posted a record. To prove you are the owner, describe the wallpaper on it and tell me where you lost it. In the first hour, I got a huge number of messages, but none of them were correct. People just wanted to guess to get their hands on an expensive smartphone for free. The next day, I checked the messages again and again, not one accurate description. After that, I gave up on the whole thing and put the find in a drawer and forgot, but only until the third day, until I almost died. I was on my way back from work and was almost run over. The driver of the foreign car was asleep or drunk. At high speed he raced within a meter of me and flew out onto the sidewalk and then crashed into a kiosk. My whole body trembled with fear. At this point, people were already busy helping the driver, so I continued walking, except for the inscription on the back window of the car caught my attention. Apparently it said "Don't look around and only drive forward," but for some reason some of the letters were smudged with dirt or something similar. The only letters that were clearly visible were death. I was scared enough as it was, and then I read a word like that. I was scared enough as it was, and it was the word I was reading. When I got home, I grabbed the damn smartphone and saw a notification that said, "If you don't write the remaining 3 wishes by tomorrow night, you will die." Today was a warning. All the best to you. What the hell, all the best? There's nothing good here, and I just walked into some kind of mystical trap. Besides, did it say anything about what happens if I make all my wishes? Would they come for my soul at the same moment, or would they take it away after death? There were so many questions I had no answer to, and the app couldn't answer them. I spent a few hours in contemplation, but decided that I would not take the risk and would rather write my wishes, except that I immediately remembered a movie, Aladdin. The way he cheated, so I will also cheat. On my mind immediately came to the first wish, which sounded like this: I want to go back to that day when I was walking in the park, reliving the breakup. I thought that if I could go back in time, there was no way I was going to pick up that damn smartphone and just walk by. Your wish is granted. 2 wishes remain. Now I just have to wait for the moment when I return to the past, but I do not know when it will happen. But just in case, I decided that I would take my smartphone with me to work. The next day came, and I had already worked until lunch, and then started to eat lunch, when suddenly everything around me began to spin, and the time on the clock began to unroll backwards. I began to wait for the time to come back, but after a minute, the hand on the clock started to turn in the right direction again, and everything went back to the way it was before. I felt uncomfortable because everything was still the same. I still held the position, as the name tag on my shirt was the same. Immediately I slipped my hand into my pocket and saw that smartphone again, picked up in the park. I realized almost immediately that I had wasted my second wish, as my memory from the future returned to the state I was in that day. But it was too early to give up, because I had a backup wish in case the time travel didn't work, but there was no more time. As I understood, wishes are granted at the allotted time, namely at 12:30, but I was obliged to try, even though I knew that I would have to die in the evening. Opening the application, I wrote, "I wish to live forever." Your wish cannot be granted, for this wish was granted to the previous owner. I did not expect such an answer, much less understand one oddity. On the first day, the voice from the application said that the previous owner had died. Could this mean that death is eternal life? Maybe the previous owner is now forced to live in the world of the dead forever? Anyway, I was confused, but something had to be done, so I just restated my wish. I wish I had never died. Your wish will be granted. There was one wish left. My own written words sent a chill through my body, and my lunch was coming to an end. I wished I could think and come up with a new plan, but I had work to do. Soon the workday came to an end, and fear gripped me. I was fully convinced that this application was no joke, which meant that very soon I would have to die. Reluctantly, I left work and headed home, looking around, but that didn't save me. When I passed by the building, I felt a strong blow to the head and unbearable pain, after which I found myself in darkness. I could not see anything, and the smell of dampness permeated my nose. The sensation did not last long, after which I saw the world around me again. There were people standing all around me. Some of them were filming, some were calling an ambulance. I could hear their voices clearly, in pain. I wanted the pain to stop, but it only got worse, and my eyes slowly drowned in the blood dripping from somewhere on my head. After a few seconds, I heard one of the bystanders speak. "Hess not alive. A brick fell off a building, smashing his skull all over, even his brain is visible. How is he even conscious now?" I got scared, but I hoped my wish would come true, only it would happen the next afternoon, when I would most likely be dead. I couldn't take the infernal pain anymore, and I found myself back in the black room, where I spent not knowing how long. I was just sitting on the floor, which was wet, pondering, when suddenly, I found myself in the middle of my desk. I was alive, and the hands of the clock were showing 12:30. I immediately rushed to the calendar and saw that today was a new day, but how had I come to work and worked if I was in a black room at that moment? That question was answered by another employee when I asked about it. He replied that I was the same as always, except my eyes were glassy, as if I had been drinking. I took care of that and put my hand in my pocket and fumbled for my smartphone, the screen of which was showing a notification. "You're going to die tonight." I was scared again, because I still remembered all the pain I had felt yesterday and didn't want it to happen again, so this time, I had to be even more careful. The work came to an end and I headed home. When I was near that building, I stayed away, because I remembered that a brick was going to fall right on my head. Soon it did, only the brick fell a few meters away from me, smashing against the pavement. I involuntarily looked up, then down at the brick's wreckage, and immediately there was a shrill screech of brakes. Turning around, I saw the truck a meter away from me. The impact, and I feel the wheels spinning me like through a meat grinder, and then I was empty again for a few seconds, and then I saw passersby, but for some reason with one eye. After a while, I heard the words of a passerby. "That's what crushed him." His head was half crushed, and his arms and legs were ripped out by the roots. How could he still be able to move his eyeballs in that state? He was clearly already in the other world. This time, the pain was even worse, I would even say 1,000 times worse. After being described as dead, I found myself in the same black room, and afterwards, I found myself in my workplace at lunchtime. Now I am forced to die every day, in many different ways and in unbearable pain. Fortunately, I have a plan that might break this chain. If I manage to live to see another day, I think things will go back to normal, but if they don't, I still have one last wish. What last wish would you make to save your life? Thank you for your attention and please subscribe so you don't miss new stories.